Life's a competition. I mean, I'm not the first person to say that, but yeah, for some of us, everything is a competition.
And when it comes to broadheads, I've made my choice. I choose a broadhead that creates havoc.
How these guys are putting this story together, really makes sense, but there's so much work that goes into just a 30-second spot.
Use of the bow and arrow dates back to the dawn of time. What was once a means for survival has now become much more for modern man. Technology, innovation, entertainment, and sustenance are all the driving force behind the world of archery today. For millions of hunters and enthusiasts alike, archery is a major part of our lives.
People got to feel that passion when they come in the shop and know that it's really what you love to do.
My name is Tim Burnett, and I've been blessed to have a career in the outdoor world for nearly a decade. Making your passion a career is tough, but it can be done. There are many career paths to go down, stories to be told, and journeys to be had. My quest is to showcase some careers in the archery world and to share the lives and lifestyles of a few professionals who have found their way. This week, my prime journey has brought me to Bozeman, Montana. I'm in between hunts up here right now, and so I figured this is a perfect time to take a day and stop in to see a longtime friend and fellow producer. I've known Jason Matzinger for several years now, and I'm super stoked to spend some time sharing ideas and digging into the backstory of his career. I plan on discussing some of Jason's favorite hunts and asking him some of the questions that we get from hundreds of emails every year. How did you get your start, and how can I learn to do what you do?
This is actually a Canadian bull moose. Probably one of my most exciting hunts ever. I was with my dad on that hunt. We were like just south of the Yukon border in British Columbia. And I ran in on this bull and another bull fighting. You could just hear them, it's so flat and so thick, you could just hear them. Right when I got to where I felt like I could about see them, they quit fighting, and I could just hear one bull grunting. And I thought he was probably 80, 90 yards away, so I have an arrow nocked like going down the trail. And all of a sudden I hear antler rake up against willow and look up, and this bull is like 15 yards and coming right at me, just not a care in the world I was there. So I drew back and just started backing up in the trail, and it was just one little trail through the willows, and it was thick. So I couldn't back up fast enough. A bull moose walking, I can't back up fast enough, especially at full draw. And I end up having to cram in this willow bush, just smash back in the willows. And I'll never forget, I had just guided an elk hunter who was at full draw and had some twigs come between his string and his riser, and when he shot, the arrow just went in the dirt. So I'll never forget cramming into those willows and looking through my sights at this bull. He was like 4 yards, came around the corner, and he was looking at me. He knew I was there. He just didn't care. And I remember looking up and making sure there was no twigs in the way, and then just, the arrow was through him before I even knew what happened, It was intense.
Can you miss what you never have known? And can you ache for a place that was never your home?
Growing up here in Bozeman, my morning activity from K through 12, right over here in this house up Sipes Canyon, I would get up, and my start every morning, eat my Captain Crunch, sitting in the bay window with my pair of binoculars, looking for deer in the morning. I guided right out of high school. That was like a dream job for me. I figured that's what I wanted to do the rest of my life, really. And that's about the time that hunting TV was starting to get a little more popular, and I was able to see kind of what the best of the best was doing out there at the time. And I realized that what I saw on a daily basis, just hunting the mountains right outside my home here, would rival anything that was on TV. So I bought a little camera that would fit in the hip pocket of my camo pants, and I just started documenting everything I could, which was tough as a guide, when you're trying to be a good guide or a good cameraman. I was a half-ass guide and a half-ass cameraman at that point in time, so my job was guiding, so I really just stuck with guiding at that point, but my love for filming really was building on the back end. And then when my outfitter I worked for moved away and things kind of changed, I really just went after filming more. I had no vision of where that footage was ever gonna land or how I could make a living doing it, but I just knew that I liked to do it.
After the break, we talk about how Jason got his start.
It was like mind blown.
He shares with us what he knew when he began.
I had no idea what to do.
And we discuss a few of his trade secrets as an editor.
Why did you miss? Was it you or was it your bow? Maybe it's time for a change. Step up to the Prime Performance Zone, an advanced accuracy system of superior strength, balance, and control. It's the most advanced and most accurate system ever made. The Prime Performance Zone compensates for less than perfect conditions, giving you accuracy in the field when you need it most. So was it you that missed? I'm betting it was your bow.
By far, the #1 question I get at shows and events is how can I get my own TV show? And all I can say is that in this industry, there is no playbook. I'm sure that all of us in the industry would struggle coming up with a clean answer. And each of us would have our own unique story to tell.
The local store my dad's best friend started, where I bought my first BB gun or my first slingshot and shared my first hunting photos. When their family sold the powder horn and the new owner came in, he really wanted to go after hunting television to help market the powder horn and market Schnee's boots as well. I showed him the archive that I had been building for 10 years. You know, everything from a little handy cam in my hip pocket to at that time I think I was filming on an XL1S. So I just said, look, John, I've got 60 to 70 hunts on camera ready to go. All we need to do is put your name on it. So we started Powderhorn, Montana.
Life on Earth. Welcome to Powderhorn, Montana.
At that time, Sportsman Channel was a brand new network. They had no shows. They were begging for content. So I was able to reach out about the concept that I had, and there was a real interest for it at that time. So basically, I just went for it. Signed a contract with them. I bought an editing system. I got instructional DVDs on how to run that software, and I just sat there in my office and I would go through the first DVD to the last one, watching the step-by-step process and how to do it. I didn't know how I was going to pay for it other than, if need be, I would just work late being an electrician and cover it myself if I had to. I had a chance to live my dream and I didn't want to let anybody down. And I put so much pressure on myself to perform. I just taught myself everything I needed to get through that first season. But I'll tell you, I mean, now seems pretty elementary to me, but at the time, it was like mind blown. I had no idea what to do. Hey, man.
So walk me through real quick kind of your editing process, just as like how you would approach a project.
I really pull inspiration from music. So my first step is I work with one composer, Harlan Wolf, super talented guy, composes everything I do. I'll just literally pick one and then just start to listen to it and just kind of zone out on it and see if it's something that I feel like I want to use or not, you know? So I'll just sit here and run through the tracks and just listen and try to think about the hunt and the message I'm trying to get across, you know. And
because you already are very familiar with the footage that you have because you filmed or took part in the adventure, so you're matching music to that film.
Exactly. Yeah, whether it was a hunt that was filled with just special moments between me and my dad, or whether it was a really physically grueling, you know, where you're really hammering it out up the mountain type hunt, 9 times out of 10, I can have something edited to that song before I ever even lay the track in here. I as it's playing, can be laying it out that quick in my head. And when I throw the music on here, I'm already done with the edit. It just takes me time to lay it in and make it work, but I already know how it's gonna end up, you know? So music for me is huge. some of the best producers I've worked with. They've mentioned to me how powerful sound is to the human emotion. They said, you know, think of this. You could have the biggest flat screen TV with an HD picture with the most amazing, you know, images one after the other. And with no sound, you're going to lose your interest in like 2 or 3 minutes. On the contrary, you can take like your favorite music CD and you can go into a closet and shut the door, turn the lights off, put the headphones on, and for an hour, you'll do everything from laugh to cry in the pitch black. That is how sound pulls human emotion. And without sound behind that picture, you've already cut out 1/3 of what appeals to human emotion. So I put a lot of emphasis to sound. And most of the time you probably don't even notice it, whether it's hoofbeats or the wind or birds chirping. I put a lot of attention to that. And when you watch it, you don't really pay attention to it. Over the last 2 years, put more emphasis in sound than just about anything because of how that pulls your emotion.
When we come back, Jason shares what it takes to be a TV host.
There is no cliff notes for how to build a hunting TV show.
We argue about how to make a living.
So how do we make money?
We don't.
And Jason talks about the day that he almost quit.
From my experience as a bow hunter, it's easy to fear those things that you can't control. Once that arrow leaves your bow, the burden's not on you anymore. You have to trust in the performance of your broadhead. And when it comes to broadheads, I've made my choice. I choose a broadhead that creates havoc. The choice is simple. The all-new Havoc broadhead, the Terra of 2 from G5. Choose wisely.
I think that there's a huge misconception of what it takes to run a hunting show and to be a hunting television show host. I know it was for me. I mean, I'm doing things now I never would have dreamed I was doing when I started this show 8 years ago. Misunderstood in the fact that I think a lot of people think the network pays us big money to have our shows on the network, when in fact we have to pay the network from our hard-earned dollars to get that airtime on TV. I think that's the #1 misconception in hunting TV. We're one of the only national broadcast stations that we pay for our airtime.
So how do we make money?
We don't.
How does somebody that wants a television show make it work?
Look at you, you're burning up from the midday sun. Troubled you're cutting out, going one by one.
I would say for somebody new wanting to come into this industry and start off from the ground level, it would be just be honest. Don't put so much pressure on yourself to perform that it makes you be a person that you're not. You have to have good partners in this industry. You have to have people who believe in you, whether you're filling your tag or not. I think it's a real unrealistic goal to think that, you know, to make it in this industry, you have to kill a 200-inch whitetail every year. You have to kill a 400-inch bull. That's just not true. It's not real. And I just don't think that that's what the viewer wants to see anymore, because it's not obtainable. It's not even obtainable to guys like me and you that do it for a living. Stay true to your heart. Stay true to the reasons of why you love this and why you got into it. If you're a good person, you're honest, you don't try to be any more than you are, and you give it your all every day, and you under-promise and over-deliver, I just think that's a recipe for success, no matter if you're a custodian or the host of a hunting show.
I would be willing to bet that if you asked any other TV show host if they would ever want to do anything else as a career, they would all undoubtedly say, not a chance in hell. But I found that if you really want to know what drives a guy to do what he does, you ask him why.
Why did I get into filming hunting? That's a hard question to ask. I've just been pulled that way. I feel like it's so instilled in me that it's just what I've always wanted to do. I've never really second-guessed it. I think one thing that really pushed me to take it to the next level was seeing what was on TV and feeling like that didn't truly represent me as a hunter or the way that I felt when I took to the woods. And so it kind of lit a fire in me to try to produce something that painted a clearer picture for people that don't understand why we hunt or why it's so important for us to hunt.
Nice to have a little bit of breathing room out here, huh?
Yeah, it is.
Out of town.
It's, you know, close to town, but still just far enough and out that you feel like you're in the country, you know. I grew up not too far from here, too. I mean, maybe 3 miles over here at the head of a canyon called Sipes Canyon. My dad lives down over here, so, you know, it's pretty familiar to me. It's nice. I mean, I can stretch out, shoot 100 yards here in this field if I want, and get the targets scattered out. Build up my confidence, but yeah, I love it. I mean, this is where I grew up. A lot of memories right here. It's nice to keep it close.
Bow hunters, by their very nature, are a different kind of breed. What is it about a bow and arrow that would make a guy willingly make his hunt much tougher than it otherwise had to be?
I guess it's really hard to express what all bow hunting does for me as an individual. Really just brings you that much closer to the animal. It makes you understand what makes that animal tick. It makes you understand and appreciate every encounter you have, because you know that stuff doesn't just happen by chance. You have to know what that animal's doing, whether he's in between feeding and bedding, or the way he's working a scrape line because of a wind direction. Every single element of what an animal does when he steps foot in the woods makes sense. There's no chance of why he's standing there. There's a reason he's standing there. And I've learned that through bow hunting. And I feel like people who have never stepped foot in the woods to just sit and watch animals are really missing out. I think it just lends a certain clarity to every other aspect of your life. Ultimately, yeah, I do bow hunt to try to kill an animal, bring home an elk, the biggest one that I've ever taken. That's ultimately, I guess, what drives me to be out there, is to be successful. But at the end of the day, that's definitely not what it's all about. I feel like bow hunting forces you to be a real hunter and to understand that animal. You're not going to luck out bow hunting more than once. And it just gives you a certain amount of satisfaction to know the amount of time that takes to understand an animal, and the dedication it takes to go out there and put yourself in the tree stand or on the side of the mountain every day, whether you're going to see something or not. There's nothing else in my life other than my kids that would drive me to do something like that. There's nothing.
After the break, we go over Jason's latest project as a producer.
Making it a little different style, a 1-hour documentary.
We talk about one of the darkest times of his career.
I was right there at the breaking point.
And Jason gets personal on what kept him going.
20 seconds and counting. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff.
Houston, I have a visual. The C-Max has landed. The all-new G5 C-Max drop-away ARRS. Launch into your dealer today.
As one of the industry's most respected producers, Jason has his hand in more than one quiver at a time. We sat down and talked about one of his latest pieces of work, Project Elk.
Just finishing up doing Project Elk and making it a little different style, a 1-hour documentary, really trying to get to the nuts and bolts of why we hunt. I mean, we put a lot of research in on that, and I would say the number one thing that I learned, and I already knew, but it reinforced, is how much hunters do for wildlife and their habitat. You know, there's nobody else that's stepped up to the plate, period, that's putting their money for like hunters. Hunting goes beyond just what we feel is right and wrong for an animal's life. It goes far beyond emotion. It's hunting in our society, and with the amount of people out there, it's absolutely needed.
There's little question in my mind that guys like Jason and I have a dream career, but it all comes with its costs. I know Jason isn't expecting this, but I really want to see if I can get him to talk about a time that he almost gave it all away.
You know, you sign up for your airtime, you go out there, you give it the best you can give it, you try to do the best you can, make any sort of money maybe you can, and at the end of the year, you're no further ahead than you were the year before. To sit here and say that it's just been, oh, I had this dream, and now look at where I am because I just believed in myself, that's not true. It is to the nuts and bolts of it, but I've been through the ringer to get myself here. I've sacrificed everything that, you know, is everything to a lot of people. I've been through a divorce. I've had to live in an apartment in downtown Bozeman for a year of my life. I felt so lost. It was the same time my title sponsor at the time dropped out. You want to talk about a moment in time where, you know, I about called it quits. I was right there at the breaking point of just saying, I'm done with this. It isn't worth it.
What did you find that kept you going?
I guess I talked to my sister one day. And my sister has been the bold one that's moved out of Montana, and she's been to New York City, and she's lived in San Diego. And I'll never forget sitting in my buddy's driveway when I was going through the divorce, talking to her on the phone, just down and out, you know, just searching for answers. And I'll never forget her saying, do you understand, of all the people in the world that I've ever met and talked to, you are the only person who is doing what they love and they dream of? You're the only person I know that's doing that. And I guess at the end of the day, I realized that if I gave that up, that is the only thing that gave me light through those hard times, was being able to bury my head in my work and not think about anything else. I think I was afraid that if my passion went away, then I'd be left with really nothing. I got a lot of friends in this industry. Tim, you being one of them, we've had a lot of conversations about why we do what we do. And it's 100% passion. I mean, that's all it is. It's the passion that drives us. It's trying to get across that message that drives me every day. It's not killing the biggest deer on TV. It's not proving that I am a better hunter than anybody else. It's not that at all. I'm not. In fact, I'm lucky. I'm blessed to live the life that I live, and I don't take it for granted any day. You know? We're hunters. We're hunters. We are so lucky to get to do what we do every day. We are not movie stars. We are not rock stars. We are hunters. We're lucky. Episode 3 of Prime Pro is a wrap. A day in the life of Jason Matzinger. There you have it.